Several months back, I had the opportunity to go to Oklahoma State University and give an advanced leadership seminar. It was an exciting time. When I was there speaking, I told a story. I read a story about influence because yesterday I was talking about how we influence people. Now, I don't know where I read the story. It might have been in Reader's Digest or someplace. But listen about how influence is so critically important because, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to influence at least 12 people every day. From the time you get out of bed until the time you get into bed, a minimum of 12 people. It might be your mate, your children, for sure driving to work. Hopefully it's positive. And when you get to work, you are going to influence 12 people. So if we're going to influence people, just how major is this thing called influence? Well, let me tell you the story that I read. It's incredible. It was during the Vietnam War. It had just begun to wrap up. And this young man, as the story goes, comes to college. He came back to college. He had been in the service for a few years. When he came back to college, he thought, man, I've got to find some easy courses. I've been away a long time. And the story goes on to say that he looked at courses like psychology 1111, biology 0000. But then he found this one course called speech. And he thought, that sounds simple. And as you read the story, and he talked about when he went to the classes the first day, all of them seemed a little boring. But he went to that speech course, and it was an auditorium. He said it was like 300 people, and he had a number, and he sat on the end. And all of a sudden, everything was dead silent. And he heard this voice come over the PA system. And this gentleman was walking down the aisle. And he goes on to say that it was mesmerizing because he heard this positive voice. He said he'll never forget the message. He made a statement that he said that the person started by saying, everyone in this room has an A, and it's up to you on whether or not you keep it. Oh, what a positive message. Well, as the year goes on, he becomes good friends with that professor. He writes in the story that everything else in college was pretty boring, but he became a good friend with that professor. At one time, the professor came to him, and it says that he sat down, he visited with him, said, young man, I can see that you're just not happy. And the young man replied, and he says, no, sir, I just am having a real problem. He said, learning all this stuff, it's so difficult. And he said, come with me, son. And he took him over to the engineering and the mathematics building, and as the story goes, he walked him up and down all 4 floors. And that college professor of speech said this to him. He said, in this building are the brightest minds on this campus. There's no one that has any brighter mind than these men and women in this building. But he said, it's so sorry to say that the majority of them will do okay, but they'll never really be great because the majority of them will never learn how to communicate. And he went on, he said that the professor told him that, young man, if you'll learn